Music is a language.
Music is my religion.
It reminds concert goers and musicians in this orchestra that there's so much talent out there that we really need to dig deeper past Beethoven, Brahms, Tchaikovsky, Rachmaninoff, Bach. They're geniuses, but there are other extraordinarily talented composers who happen to be women who have been forgotten and ignored in history.
It's not only female composers underrepresented in concert halls, only 5% come from women. But in the film industry, it gets even worse.
Women working with women, when they're helping each other, when they're upholding each other, lifting each other up in that way, there is some kind of extra magical power that gets to happen.
It is complicated. It requires a lot of effort, but it is absolutely not impossible. So if we made it, I think others can make it as well.
Hello, everyone. My name is Veronica Sabag, and I am the founder of United Voices for Peace. So what you just saw is the trailer of a documentary we have produced last year following a concert by the United Nations Symphony Orchestra in partnership with our organization during CSW68. So we wanted to show first what we do and then explain it for you to understand. So our organization is called United Voices for Peace. We aim at uniting, if you want to keep that, we aim at uniting all the voices of the world through music and the arts. We are here at an event that aims at promoting and fostering an intergenerational culture of peace. So we will start by what is intergenerational. We need to acknowledge that our new generations are communicating in a different manner. Few diplomats will admit that today diplomacy needs to be more creative, more innovative to reach these new generations. So one of the ways we thought of touching the hearts, not only of our generation, but for the adoption of the concept of culture of peace, but in order to ensure the continuance of that, the continuity, we would like to communicate this way. So it has proved, the power of the arts has proved to be a very powerful thing, as I said, to reach the hearts and the minds of the new generation, and also to promote our mission. Not only because I'm Spanish, but because I really admire the work of our predecessors, Federico Mayor Zaragoza, who was behind the concept of the culture of peace. Because he also was a poet, and he understood that speaking with your heart could be more powerful than some words sometimes. So this is a summary somehow, and I don't want to take the time from other speakers, but basically we organize on a yearly basis in the marches, and I will say as an official side event to the CSW, a concert that brings together the United Nations Symphony Orchestra, so diplomats, that people like me who during the day do their daily work as a diplomat, but that then decides to put together some concerts in order to promote and advance gender equality or other global challenges we are facing today. So I'm very proud to present this trailer and to announce that we're holding this concert next Thursday at NYU Skirball. Yes, this Thursday, 13 at 7:30 at the New York Skirball Theater. and that, of course, you are more than welcome to join us. We will have two conductors, twin sisters from Mexico conducting the United Nations Symphony Orchestra and showcasing works from women composers from around the world, and in particular, women affected by conflict. Thank you.
One thing, because Veronica, just so that everybody understands also your background, because we didn't share the bios of everyone here, but Veronica comes from the UN. She worked many years within the United Nations.
Union and UN.
Yeah, European Union and the UN system itself, and she was there in conflict zones. She was working in peace building, and so it was through, on top of all of those decades of experience that she founded this organization, and so I find it very, very moving that you made such a big shift in your career. Also, okay, I'm handing it to Suchi now.
Thank you so much. A lot of these pieces, we do back on YWCA, there's a lot of work that needs to happen around reframing narrative, trying to look at things from a different lens, trying to shift our thoughts around more positive approaches also, or even changing what's dominant the outside the world talks about when some terms are referenced or some terminologies are used. So we have an activation exercise for all of you to engage in, and we have 3 minutes. And we want you to turn to your immediate partner and talk about, and please give each other time to speak, because 3 minutes should be divided equally between you, and talk about what does the word peace mean to you? When you think about that word peace, what has come to your mind? Can you do that? Yeah? 3 minutes. 1.5 minutes each.
Questions? No, we're just gonna throw these questions. We're gonna kind of have a conversation. So for me, as a present, I'm just thinking that it's on the I'm gonna ask that one.
I didn't know exactly how much time I had, so I was like, but I think this is a very good thing that to have. Yeah. So what's the yeah, video card. Make people yeah. That exercise that is because when you create and if you don't make sure and then all the rest, I guess, I think it's a very good side.
All right, I know this is, I can see, we can see this is so engaged. Right? And, such critical thought, even a tiny one though, but I'm sure like very but we have to come back. What I want all of us to reflect on internally, as we heard our partners speak, is peace seen as absence of war or conflict very often? But is peace really that, you know? And very often when we hear people respond about peace, that's a very interesting thought to have in our back pocket, right? Peace is not a destination, peace is a process, you know? Peace is not just being reactive, peace is also being proactive. So I hope as you guys interact with each other, all of you can think about what we're going to do, what we are going to go through as we go into the next step. So thank you so much for spending 3 minutes with each other. And now we are going to go to the panel.
So, and we'll intersperse, you know, some bio-ish things right now you have the panel, and up there on the screen. And we wanted to actually throw the first question to Suchi and Ambassador Chowdhury, actually. And of course, if it's not within, one thing we want to explain is that we wanted to create kind of a mood that is, you know, that we feel is more encompassing of a culture of peace, you know, culture of peace, which is to me, you know, to us is a little bit more egalitarian, and it's a conversation that we're having, and that's why we structured it the way that we did. And so we hope that you feel a part of the conversation, and you will have time at the end to also give your own impressions. It doesn't have to be, this is not a formal Q&A, you know, type of format. And I believe culture of peace is also very feminist. It's not hierarchical, and it's filled with compassion and empathy and all the good words that I can go on and on about. But I want to hear from the two of you. And another piece I didn't mention is Ambassador Chowdhury. Of course, we often say he's the grandfather of, or I'm not sure, inspiration behind the resolution on. Well, there's two major things, and one is the Security Council Resolution 1325, and the other is the resolution on the culture of peace and program of action on the cultural declaration and program of action on the culture of peace. Just a show of hands, how many of you knew that existed, such a document exists at the UN? There's a resolution on the culture of peace. So there were a few hands, but not everybody. Okay, so I would say about 20% of the room, maybe less. Okay, just so we know where we're at. And Ambassador Chowdhury was involved in both of them. We are so honored to have you here. So honored, Ambassador Chowdhury, for all that you have done all throughout the decades. And we really, it's a personal thing, but we really, in a way, also want to dedicate this event to you in the sense that, you know, we're going to continue this intergenerational. It's a movement, and we have to keep it going. And we hope that this event will also be like a kickstart for all of us to leave with a commitment of our own so that we can make that a reality. So I will hand to you about what's the culture of peace for you, and how are you living the culture of peace? You have a mic.
Yeah, I have.
Okay.
Who will speak first?
You can.
Thank you. Good afternoon to all of you, and I'm very happy to join you. I just was bringing out, this is the 30th anniversary of the Beijing conference, and we are very proudly celebrating it. But also you should remember, this is the 25th anniversary for Security Council Resolution 1325 on women and peace and security. So these go together. The Beijing was the first time that this idea of recognizing the role of women in peace and security. And that is when it happened in 1995. And then for next 5 years, I was not 5 years, 4 years, I became an ambassador of Bangladesh to the United Nations in 1996. And I found that this is something which is missing at the headquarters of the UN, because the Security Council, one of the main organs of the UN, is given a responsibility for international peace and security by the UN Charter. So Security Council, and also there is a very important aspect that you should know. Security Council resolutions are all mandatory. The member states take upon themselves to accept the resolutions and also abide by those resolutions, comply with that. So this is a very important thing. And 4 years I have been going to other members of the Security Council. But it was not possible for them to initiate anything because the 5 permanent members were against it. Because they were comfortable by reflecting women's position as a victim of war, victim of conflict, victim of refugee situations, victim of violence, anything. So I am a victim of extensive migration. So they felt that if the world is going on like that, why should we change? And they particularly believe that change is done only when they want, because they are permanent. They are forever. The other members come for a 2-year period, other 10 members. So this is the P5 and E10. We say E10 is elected 10, because permanent members are never elected. They are there in the charter, and that's it. So they play with that. Then on the 5th year of my presence here as the ambassador, situation sort of, the sunshine came for us, for me particularly, because Bangladesh became a member of the Security Council in 2000. And we thought that is the time for us to get the ball rolling. And then more so in March, within 2 months of our membership, in March, I became the president of the Security Council because of the rotation, because alphabetical rotation, 1 month presidency. Though that 1 month looks like 1 year. It's so heavy workload, and you become the center of attraction for many things. But anyway, so on the 1st of the month of the presidency, we all declare what we plan to do during this month. It's kind of our work program, peacekeeping missions, peace issues, thematic. And I said that my expectation is to have a resolution of the Security Council which will promote the positive contribution of women in peace and security. So just we have to recognize that. And that is what I proposed. And I said, luckily, in my month of presidency, 8th March is the International Women's Day. So can we have that resolution on that day? I think I set too much of a goal for me because the first it was this idea was treated with indifference. People started saying, "Oh, Chowdhury is a new member of the Security Council, and he thinks he can do it as a president." And main threat came from 5 permanent members. They didn't want to do that. And I was committed to this thing, and I told them that we will see where we go. Because, and that is finally, but cut it short, I understand that it may be too long a story. But within the month of March, they started saying, we have to get our instructions from the capitals. And that way, everything got delayed, and we came on the 6th of March, because 8th of March is my target date. 6th of March, they said, we sent it to our capitals, they are not decided yet. So that, and then I went to my plan B that say, okay, if resolution is not possible, let's have an agreed statement that which will help us to break through the obstacles of the conceptual and political issues, so that we will agree on peace is inextricably connected with equality between women and men. And that is what we decided. And then they said, no, okay, it may be too late because we have to finish our work by the morning of 8th March. But I said, drafting is already done. I had prepared a draft myself, and I thought it would be possible to say. And finally, we got everybody to agree. And that announcement to the media and to the Commission on Status of Women on 8th of March was a big success, because for the first time, people felt that there is a realization of women's positive role. And then we had to work for 8 more months to get the resolution 1325. That was in October 31st, last day of the month of October, when Namibia was the president of the council. I initiated the statement, and that statement became the basis of 1325. 1325 resolution, the first paragraph. First paragraph mentions about that statement. So that way we were able to get it, because after the main strategy on the part of the developing countries was to have that passed during the presidency of the developing country. Because after Namibia, I think there were Russia and some other countries alphabetically coming in. So it was thought that it is better to so we pushed it to have it on 31st of October. So that is the little story of 1325, but now 1325 has become a huge movement all over the world. And I think civil society has really welcomed it in a very big way. And member states have done not bad. I think out of 193, after 25 years, we have only maybe 110 countries which have national action plans, telling that this is the, yeah. Oh, yours. I thought you wanted to ask a question. So that is, but I had mentioned in some of my speeches that by the end of the 25th year of 1325, we should have all countries becoming. Some countries, of course, they have announced that they don't need a national action plan. Those countries believe that they are not in conflict, that's why they don't need a national plan. But I say, where women are discriminated, the country is in conflict with itself. So I say that you cannot say that you are not in conflict. You are denying 50% of your population equality. And that is something that is. So I wanted to share with you this statement. I issue every year on the 8th of March a statement. And this statement came out on the early morning of 8th March. And I mentioned about but I wanted to mention 3 points, 3 short points on that. One is the statement on women's contribution to the culture of peace issued during 1995 Beijing conference concluded by reaffirming that, and I quote that statement, only together, women and men in parity and in partnership, can we overcome obstacles and inertia, silence and frustration, and ensure the insight, political will, creative thinking, and concrete actions needed for a global transition from the culture of violence to the culture of peace. So that is what I quoted this year, Malala, our dear Nobel laureate. She said, we realize the importance of our voice only when we are silenced. So that is a very important statement. I think we don't recognize unless we are silenced. So that was the point that I mentioned. And then I mentioned also another thing. Let me assert in this context that feminism ensures a smart policy, which is inclusive, uses all potential, and leaves no one behind. I am proud to be a feminist. All of us need to be. That is how we make our planet a better place to live for all. And then the final point, third one, we, all of us, women and men, particularly men, should always remember that without peace, development is impossible. And without development, peace is not achievable. But without women, neither peace nor development is conceivable. So these are the points that I made in this message this year. And I focused on the girl child, because I believe that today's girl child is tomorrow's woman. The discrimination starts from the beginning of their childhood. And that's why I also get an image of a girl child, which quotes, a girl child is a pride and the future of the nation. Empowering your girl child means empowering your future. So that's a very important thing, and we sometimes focus on. That's why Sustainable Development Goal 5 says empowering women and girls. So that is very important, because the discrimination starts very early. So that is the little background that I wanted to give, but maybe I should stop here. It is almost like a speech.
Thank you so much, Ambassador. Hello, everyone.
Hello. Yeah, thank you so much for giving me the opportunity to speak at this conference. The question I'm asked is to talk about the culture of peace. Why is it to me? I want to start by saying that I am Suchi Gaur. I'm the International President of the Women's International League for Peace and Freedom. It is one of the world's oldest feminist peace organizations that was set up in 1915 when the First World War was raging. So women came, there were 1,136 women that came out. They initially had on their agenda the voting rights, but because of the war that was raging, the peace agenda was on their table now. And they decided to look for alternative strategies to address war and conflict. And I can say that by doing that, we've already started building a culture of peace, because the birth of peace was why the war, why all of this, why don't we use alternative solutions to all of this? So we started building a culture of peace 110 years ago. So it's more, and we came out with the idea that there's no way we can build a sustainable peace without interrogating the root causes. So for us, building a culture of peace at which, and normally is about trying to understand why are we in crisis? Why do we have war? What are the root causes of this? So it's another way of really building, because you are understanding and you are bringing out sustainable solution. The culture of peace is also about how do we, it's about us, the culture of peace. How do we ensure what, as individuals, I want to start at different levels. At individual level, we always think that building the culture of peace is to look at around and look at your neighbor. No. How do we live the culture of peace? It's about you. Before you get to ask a question, what are you doing for peace? It's about you. So the culture of peace that we want to see happen is about us. We shape the culture, we shape the peace we want to see in the community. As women, we also shape the peace, because women have a reproductive role. If I start with the reproductive role, for example, they have a kind of influence on their families. So they have to educate. Education is very critical to build a culture of peace. How do we get the younger ones to be really peace literate, if I want to say it? So it's through education. It's extremely important. Also, apart from the family level, even when you go at community level, education is also critical to build this culture of peace. How do we ensure in our community, we as women, we build this culture of peace? It's through education. And nowadays, because of all the challenges we are going through all in the world, also economic empowerment is critical to build a culture of peace. There is no way you can talk about peace to somebody who has been displaced because of war and conflict. So you have to give something to that person to be economically sustainable, to be able to listen and to hear the message of peace that you are talking about. So it's very, very critical to understand that. And also, I want to indicate that it's also about, I mentioned education. We also look for other solutions within the communities. When we build alliances, we create platforms to talk about peace, to work together is another way of building the culture of peace. So it's about movement building, ensuring that we create the platform where we establish a routine in the communities. We also need to, as I indicated, economic and social development is critical. Yeah, I want to take the case of my country, Cameroon. We are working as you know, Cameroon is challenged, unfortunately, challenged by a lot of crisis, internal crisis, and and there's a lot of displacement. Unfortunately, in the history of my country, we're so comfortable being a peaceful country because now we are deep into it. So many thousands of people have fled their regions to go to safer zones. So one of the things that we are trying to do is to build social cohesion into a kind of rebuild their morale. But there's no way you can rebuild the morale. There's no way you can bring someone on board and get your peace message when you don't give that person the opportunity to be economically and socially sustainable. So we are working really extensively on economic empowerment of these women, and until they have the possibility of having something that will help them to earn a living, then you come now with the peace message, then they are more attentive to the peace message and they become peace ambassadors. And strengthening the younger movement. Yeah, peace building, if you want to invest in a sustainable way, you have to invest in the youth. Yeah, the peace work starts with the younger ones. You invest in a sustainable way, you educate the younger one to understand. Yeah, and that's why it's very important to invest in the younger one. And the strategies are organizing, awareness raising, and making sure that the younger one have a place. And through education, we make the children know how to love, we make the children reject hate, we make the children and the future leaders know about wisdom, about compassion. Anyway, education is the best key to build a sustainable peace. So the culture of peace is really at the heart of the topic here, intergenerational. So it starts from the younger one and it goes right to the older one. And we need to work together to make it happen. But education is critical, and ensuring that what we have is invested in the younger generation to take the lead. I want to give the space to others to speak, and then I will be able to share more.
Thank you, Sandy. Thank you so much. Thank you. I think both of you have touched very critically about the role of women as peace builders and talked about what's the importance of, the culture of peace within homes, within communities, how we keep on talking about it. I mean, I come from YWCA as a movement. Peace has been the foundation of the how this movement started, and we have many resolutions and statements, and we continue to pass many resolutions as a movement, which talk about women's role in peace building extensively. We have four set of other panelists, and I'm gonna take the light to them now to talk a bit about women and girls and peace. One of the things that we've seen is while these resolutions are passed and we continue to advocate for women in peace building and valuing their role in peace building, we know that peace agreements which involve women have 35% more lasting impact. It's more sustainable. At the same time, only 13% global negotiators are women. Women don't yet reach the position of decision making and playing that role sitting on those tables, and we're not given those. We also know that there's a lot of weaponization of the fact that when women are working towards peace, it's often weaponized. So there's so much to talk about women and girls in peace, and how we talk about culture of peace and the role of women and girls. So we're going to start with Shireen. Shireen, we are here. I know Shireen has some slides to show before her remarks. During the remarks. Okay, so you tell us when to show it. Okay, yes. Shireen, over to you.
Shukran. So shukran is thank you. Thank you first for the invitation, and thank you to have me on the same panel with Ambassador Chowdhury, who have been like our driving force and the person we look out to in terms of the relationship between civil society and governments. And this is, I think, a very good example for us here at CSW, how we need to push our advocacy and also our international president, Sylvie. First, let me say that Ambassador Chowdhury told us about how it is through negotiations that things are being done. But for me, as a person who works at the grassroots, this is where I see the culture of peace. And this is where I have worked towards the realization of the culture of peace. And this is how it shaped my understanding of peace. I want to talk about three main experiences that happened lately and have shown me like what it is for us to work before, during, and after conflict, and how it is that we can see the impact of the work that we have through the eyes of these people who are either refugee or those women who are experiencing violence and any means. I want to mention first my very can we have the first slide, please? This is a project that we have been working on with peace women across the globe and a local organization, Permanent Peace Movement. Through this work, I was able to do this mural. This mural talks about women, peace, and security. And this mural is being done in a village, a local area, not in the city. Near schools, near a place where people can go to do picnics and to walk for their daily walk. And I thought it's very important for us also to see, not only to talk in conferences and boardrooms about 1325, but also how every student, as also like now what was raised by Ambassador and Sylvie, how we can raise this awareness among the young girls, young boys, how to engage men, how to engage different communities, and how to engage also this intergenerational and interlinkages among the different generations. And that was the example. And then I thought that was just me putting this international agenda and bringing it and networking it in the grassroots among the villages. During the war, the past war, maybe, I'm not sure how many of you in the room know, that in Lebanon we were facing an aggressive war between September, October. So during this month, we had lots of refugees. And I went there to speak to them. And one of the questions that I had, how do you see peace? And what is it that can happen? And how can we achieve peace? And one of these young girls was telling me, I'm going to tell you, there's like when we go down there and we walk, we see on the wall talking about women, peace, and security. And this is where we get hope that there's going to be peace and that we will have someday like an end of this cessation of conflicts and an end of disarmament. How can we stop the armament? How can we prevent it? And how we can rechannel the resources that are being spent to destruction towards the human security and the well-being of the individuals. And this is where, like, I saw just how an act of goodwill that I was able to do, how it had the reflection on people at the grassroots, on these people who lost their homes, who lost their different survival mechanisms. Just a simple thing done in good faith. The second thing that I want to talk about is another thing out of this. And then when I saw the impact that it had, I decided to do another mural. This one. This one was done after the war. And the main thing was that women had a voice. And the voice is that, as you see, like the bombs coming down and creating all this destruction, destroying also all our climate and destroying our environment. Whereas what is needed is women calling for equality, calling for dialogue, calling for justice, calling for equity, calling for all these matters that have done. And we have calligraphy here in Arabic as well. And what we say, the main message is that we need, and this is what is what's called now, what we need is more women in mediation. And this is where the sun is there, and at the heart of the sun, because the sun always rises every day, what we need women to be in the mediation, we need women to be at the peace tables. So that was an extension of seeing what we had. The third thing that I want to raise also, I'm a part of a women's network of mediators in the south of Lebanon. During the war, most of us, even like if we are part of networks, it doesn't necessarily know the value of our voices. During the war, due to the different spaces that I was able to have with my local mediators, like whether at the Arab Feminist Network, where they were able to tell us about what is happening in Lebanon, what is needed, and how we want to amplify the voices of women, young girls, and men allies. And then they decided that, yeah, so this is the place where our voices matter. And then comes another initiative that I'll be able, hopefully, to fulfill when I go back home, and it's going to be on the 4th of April. I will need definitely your support, is that when we decided to imagine recovery. So now in the post-war, how this recovery is going to be inclusive of women voices, and how we're able to amplify the voices of these women on saying the reconstruction needs to be done with a gender-sensitive approach, as 1325 was calling about the role of women not only during the wars, but also in post-conflict. We cannot have war, we have the destructions, and then we want things as they were. No, we want how we can have the constructions, how we can have even the role of women in this ceasefire agreements or the monitoring of ceasefire. I think for me, this is it. I want to end with one point to say it's about ownership. It's about what the local community does. And this is the culture of peace. UNESCO says it's in the mind of men, it says men, that peace is constructed, and it's in the man, the head of men, that change needs to be done. But I would want to say it's in our heads, it's in our daily lives, it's in our own daily things that we do on a daily basis that a change can happen, and a trust that we will make it. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Shireen, for giving everyone a lot about. We're going to move to Emma, very mindful of time as well. Emma, who is part of the World YWCA board, she's part of the YWCA movement from Sweden, and she's also a board member. Emma, women and girls, I mean, and role in peace. You come from Sweden, and you work in a global intergenerational movement. I'm sure you have a lot to share about that.
I hope I have something valuable to share that some people may be able to relate to, and otherwise, maybe you can get some inspiration, or you have questions that you bring with you after this. Thank you so much for having me on this panel. As Suchi said, I am here as part of the World YWCA's work, which is a grassroots movement for women, young women, and girls all over the world. And in our work, the majority are women under 30. And I'm honest when I say, and I'm very proud to say also, when we're talking about an intergenerational culture of peace, a movement that works for the culture of peace, the World YWCA lots of people. So yes, I come from Sweden, and I'm very blessed to have been born and raised in a country which has been living in the presence of peace. If you think about peace as the absence of war, but as we have heard all of our speakers here today talking about that peace is so much more than the absence of war. And it's also about the importance of the narrative. And we need the narrative change. We need to talk about peace as a holistic concept. As all of you have mentioned, it's important with education, it's important with the empowerment. And we in YWCA, we work with these things on a daily basis. So I'm here as part of the board, so I speak on behalf of the board and all the grassroots organizations we have. I don't know if we have any YWCA's present here, maybe you can wave. So and I'm very happy to say that if you want to talk about people who work with women that work with these things on a daily basis, please come and talk to the women that put their hands up. But we work with, we don't work with it as a response only to an ongoing conflict. We also work with this prevention, and not only as a prevention of what to do when the conflict arrives. In Sweden at the moment, this is the first time in a long time. We have been in peace for 200 years almost, but now the discussion is ongoing. What is happening around us now in the world? There's a nearby conflict that has been ongoing, a war in Ukraine, and this has shifted the geopolitics. We are affected. We have also been heavily affected by the increase in gang violence in Sweden, which is also a big question of the absence of, or not the absence of war, but the presence of rising violence, and not only rising violence to young women and women, but to all people in our communities. But I want to rise and lift some of the great examples that a lot of our YWCA movements are doing in working with these kinds of peace prevention, but also as a peace, as a response to the ongoing conflicts. We have YWCA Haiti working with internal conflicts in their country, with the military regime, and they are doing great things. We have the YWCA of Palestine, Ukraine, and PRC Congo working with the ongoing and enduring conflicts of war, helping the women staying in their communities and working with them hands-on. And then we have YWCA of Greece that are working with a lot of prevention for violence against women, for gender-based violence. They are talking and driving a lot of policy initiatives to the government in Greece against the rising femicide in Europe and in Greece specifically. And then we also have the YWCA of Sweden who work with peace according to the resolution 1325, but also the resolution on youth and peace and security, where we talk about having a meaningful free time, having a community that supports you, having the empowerment and self-leadership to actually know that you matter and you can make change in your community. And I think that having that voice and having that power is also a way to build a culture of peace together. I don't want to talk too much, because I also want to give this floor to the other young women on this panel. And I'm sure we will come back on the intergenerational talk later. Yeah?
Maybe you can touch on it. Yeah. We might have a lot of time. You can touch on it about it right now. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. But I can pass it on and then we come back. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Iman. Thank you so much. Yuki, I know you have some very concrete examples about the role of women and girls within the culture of peace work and got from Japan. I think the audience would love listening to that. So over to you.
Thank you so much, Suchi. So thank you for having me today. I'm a member of the Women's Peace Committee of the Suchi International. And SGI, Suchi International, is a global Buddhist community dedicated to peace, culture, and inclusion, with members in 192 countries and regions. And we focus on human rights and gender equality and peace and inclusion, spreading these themes in ways that are easy to understand to the general public. And one of the things that we realized throughout the disease is that we need to convey our values in ways that resonate beyond a specific faith tradition. In other words, we cannot speak in a language that only makes sense to ourselves. So I think in this sense, the concept of cultural peace really enabled us to articulate what we were pursuing and do that grassroots activities. And to answer your question, I think for many women and girls, I think cultural peace is not just an abstract concept, but something that is really connected, particularly connected to their daily realities.
instance, like, for a single mother, this may mean, access to childcare or financial security, or for the survivors of domestic violence. These may mean a safe home and ability to rebuild her own life. So this is why for activities we focus on lifting responsibilities to try to highlight how ordinary people are contributing to peace through their courage and actions. And I just want to share a couple of stories of our members. One of them is YWCA, and she really struggled to overcome social stigma as a mother of a daughter with Down syndrome. And in 2011, when the Great East Japan earthquake happened, she really used her experience of overcoming prejudice to really foster mutual understanding among the communities and the residents. And I think that peace building happening at each level. And another story is local. She was she grew up in poverty, and she really turned her obstacles into her mission, and to reach out to children. And now she's planning to establish a children's cafeteria to offer free meals, so that to ensure that no children would feel invisible or forgotten. And I think these stories really shows that peace is created through small yet meaningful actions, and not just diplomatic negotiations. So yeah, I'll stop now.
Thank you. We now take our microphone to Asi, our youngest in the panel. Asi is from Jordan. So we would love to hear from you about safe women and girls peace around the culture of peace and your experience with it.
Thank you so much. But I'm not sure who's that girl in the picture. We supposedly, but just so you know, this is Anyway, thank you so much. My name is Asil. I am originally Palestinian, and my grandparents were displaced, and since then we were living in Jordan. So we are basically the second generation of my family living in Jordan. Yes, we hold the Jordanian citizenship, but we're still Palestinians, and on many different levels. One of those levels is the fact that we are, as a Palestinian, because you are forced into this the colonization and being not even a second grade citizen, you are even fourth, fifth, sixth, and even under that, under the Israeli colonization. And this has been also like translated into even like the policies in countries around us, in Lebanon and Jordan, where they treat us always as a security threat. This is something I was just telling sorry, my mouth is dry, so I'm starting to stumble over my words. I was just telling her that a culture of peace also means that, and also it was just a reflection on coming to CSW. When you're coming from the global south, you're immediately treated as a security threat. You have to go through integrations. You have to go through an exhausting, expensive visa process just to come here and say your bit about peace. Where in fact, and actually, your presence is the most important, because your country is the one that is being torn by wars and conflict. And I also want to disagree with not naming, the war, or who did the war. Israel is committing a genocide on Palestine, and it was committing a genocide in Lebanon back in those 2 months, and it was also and it is still committing a genocide in Syria now too. And it's like when you have the culture of peace is not just sitting there and saying in the UN and saying, yes, we want to hold the international human rights principles and values, but they're coming and cutting off water and food from people. And I know the absence of war maybe is something we did not talk about here, or we are talking that we should go beyond the absence of war. But for me, I don't think we can ever move beyond it if we don't have that, if we're not living in conflict all the time. Maybe what I'm saying maybe is not really related to But truly, when the latest genocide started, I didn't even feel it. Like even though I was in a country where I had shelter over my head, even through my dreams, I was dreaming of being under that, the bombing, and was waking up scared. And then I was just thinking that, through my advocacy and through everything that I was doing, that, maybe what I'm doing was useless. Maybe peace will never happen, because there is like 5 countries who decided to take it into their hands to never make us, feel at peace at all in the Middle East in general, and in Africa. So it's just, our advocacy and our work. Yes, I do agree with everything that has been said on the panel. Education is what I have been working on personally. I am an advocate in education, and I'm also working on period poverty through my initiative in my country. And both of these things, both of them, what actually drove us to have these 2 initiatives. One of them is working on a holistic approach for education for refugees, for refugee children, who most of them don't have even like official papers. And if they want to move even outside of the camp, they go through heavy, police, processes in order just to go out of the camp, because, they are refugees. So our work was through educating them and telling them, yes, you are living in this, but you are the hope. You're going to create the peace in one way or another. And our second initiative was, working with girls and young women, especially. And again, I go back to the genocide because it's still happening. Because Benjamin Netanyahu has decided like 2 weeks ago that the ceasefire negotiations means nothing, and he can do whatever he wants. And he still went on and cut food and water and aid from entering Gaza again after the ceasefire. We're not being bombed, but we're being starved to death and dying without medicine. So what we were thinking at that time is that a lot of women women in Gaza started talking on social media, saying that we appreciate the aid that you are entering, but guys, think about us. Think about women in conflict areas who don't have access to menstrual hygiene products. Think about that. And then when we started, with our initiative and breaking with this conversation and telling people, hey, what is period poverty? You cannot really, ignore the importance of women having at least some dignity in their life, at least something that they can go through this painful experience. It's enough that they have a war, but at least let them have this experience with some product without going through all of the unsanitary things that they would probably go through, or that humiliation they would go through. So I would say yes, in our work, we address the culture of peace on a different levels, maybe through education, through just creating conversations around women bodies, and I think everybody has heard this before, women bodies are like the place where wars happen most of the time. Yeah, this is what we've been working on. This is what we do. And another thing I just want to say, that maybe for me actually, and for a lot of you in MENA, talking about peace and security feels like something that only the adults do. We're not included in it. So now that our initiatives mostly now, we are trying to break into these peace conversations through what we are doing. Yes, we're still facing a lot of difficulties because you're a young person, you're never taken seriously. What are you doing on the table with us? But we are resilient. We will still try, and I hope really. I hope maybe when I'm 70, 80, maybe 100, if I was that I would just live to see MENA region in peace, in true peace, where the absence of war and the dignity of women and children and men too is present.
You said the last thing was very connected to our segue into intergenerational leadership. So keep the mic with you, because this time we're going to start with you. I think all of us are a group here and believe in the power of young people, not their voices. So we have short, we want to go short into the next segue, but yes, that's it.
Can I make a few comments?
Yes.
Well, I wanted to thank the organizers particularly for articulating the title of this discussion very effectively. It says, and all words are very important, activating an intergenerational movement for the culture of peace. So all these words are very, very significant. And if I may say, this is the culture of peace adopted by the United Nations. This booklet was published during the 20th anniversary, and last September we had the 25th anniversary of this document adopted by consensus in the United Nations in 1999. I believe that this is the only document of the United Nations, not even the charter, which focuses solely on peace. Solely, 100%. It has 8 action areas, starting with education, sustainable development, human rights, women's equality, role of media, role of understanding, solidarity, and tolerance. All these things are there. Then finally, international peace and security, meaning this is nuclear disarmament as a whole. So this is, I think, this document gives a role to 5 groups of actors who will implement this document. Number 1, and it is in the declaration, it is mentioned. Number 1 is, of course, the member states who have adopted it. They are committed to it. This document, I had to chair the negotiations for it for 9 months, because my objective was to get a consensus, not a voted resolution, for peace, and particularly the culture of peace. Culture of peace evolved as the Cold War was ending. We thought how to take advantage of the peace dividend that we are hoping. The armies will be reduced, weapon and spending will be reduced, and people need to have something to energize them. And this came in at that time. In 1997, I presented that UN General Assembly should have an item of agenda on the culture of peace. And then in 1997, we declared the year 2000 as the International Year of the Culture of Peace. And then 17 Nobel laureates came to write to the Secretary General and copy to me, saying that 1 year is not enough for the culture of peace. So we need a decade for the culture of peace. And that is why we initiated a resolution for the International Decade for the Culture of Peace and Nonviolence. That was added, and then for the children of the world from 2001 to 2010. So that also emphasizes, though this document, when adopted in 1999, had A, but I believe that this is the Magna Carta for the whole world, for the people of our planet. So that is why it should be called the culture of peace. And that is what we say, and we are very happy that the organizers put the before the culture of peace. Activating means it is action oriented. I started by saying the 5 actors. So let me finish that first and go to the activation. Member states, second, very important, no other UN document gives civil society such a prominent role in acting for the culture of peace. So that is, again, this is the biggest gathering of women NGOs from all over the world for CSW every year. This is the largest gathering of activist women from all over the world. So this is a proud moment for me to mention these things here. So civil society has the third actor is media. Again, how media performs a role in promoting these normative values, how these things could be done and promoted. Fourth actor is very important, individuals. Whatever is your profession, it doesn't mean that I have to be a diplomat or a politician to promote culture of peace. You can promote as a doctor, as an engineer, as an interfaith activist, anything. Teacher, more importantly. So individuals. So that is why the culture of peace is different from peace as such. Is said when you decide to integrate peace and nonviolence as part of your daily existence. It's not just I come to a meeting, talk about peace and go home and my usual relaxed self. No connection with the rest of the world. So that's why many people I say that you go out shouting in the street for peace, peace, and come home and become violent again with your own family members. So where is the peace in that way? So that is, and then finally, United Nations as a whole. So the fifth actor is the UN, maybe because of our humility, because document is the UN document, so we put ourselves in the last. But UN has a big role, and UN leadership, I should say, has failed in recognizing the value. This document would have been all used during all this current ongoing conflicts. If be in Ukraine or be in Israel, now everywhere, or Yemen, it could have been a big thing. Because unless you prepare the people for integrating peace or learning the value of peace in their lives, it will not make any difference. They're fighting. Peace is not, or the culture of peace is not an end of war. It is true culture of peace comes with the end of discrimination, violence, intolerance, injustice, all these things has to go. Otherwise, just stopping war and surrendering guns is not peace. So that is what it is happening, and activating, I believe that this is something, okay, I understand. Yeah, peace has always the least time. No, but yeah, I get carried away. So that is also. But this is the activating means we have to keep in mind that it is action, but not. I say that culture of peace is not a quick fix. It is a longer term movement. So that is, we have to understand that it will come slowly but surely. So that is why intergenerational movement. And we have decided for the last, at least 2017, United Nations held a high-level forum on sowing the seeds of the culture of peace, starting with the children. So children, because as I said, like girls becoming women, children becoming also very bad men, boys at least particularly. So that is what we have to see, that they get the right education from their parents, their communities, their extended family, and then high schools, or schools, primary, high, and then college and university. That is the way. There was a decision by 25 neuroscientists who came together in a conference in Frankfurt and they wanted culture of peace to become, because they believe a child decides on his or her mindset as early as 5 years, whether they will be growing up as a violent or a peaceful person. So that is why we need to focus on children again and again. And so, thank you. And also, some of the questions came out. I believe we should not focus so much on the member states because they have their own way of dealing with. We should focus on communities, cities and communities, who should be the bedrock of the culture of peace. So those, with that, I thank you.
Yeah, thank you. So you each have like a minute left for the, I'm so sorry to cut all of you so quickly.
I should be sorry.
Awesome.
No, thank you so
Thank
much.
you so much. I didn't want to say that. We would love hours for this kind of events. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Please.
Okay, so the importance of intergenerational.
Yes, and your commitment, any of those things, any last thoughts,
Last thoughts, last ideas is, I just want to second what you said. It's not just about also ending the war, because I believe after, and this is also coming back to our context in the MENA region, after the Assad regime fell, recently there has still been like some kind of crimes that have been committed between the communities in Syria themselves. So because you know the war kind of shifts our mindsets in a way where we always feel like we are threatened, and we need to be patient with others, and it is like a kind of process where everybody has to come together and install tolerance and love and acceptance of each other, not love, at least acceptance of each other in other communities. So no matter what our differences, whether you're from the south or the global north, we have more things to share together. We have shared narratives that we can relate to each other more than the billionaires and those who are actually waging the wars against us. So yeah, this is why I just want to say that we need always to be in solidarity with each other, and it is a process, and we will continue to work.
Miyuki, yes, thank you.
Thank you. So I think a true movement for peace should be intergenerational, because I think all generation has its unique perspective and strengths. And I think the impact of today's event depends on not what we discussed here, but what we do afterwards. So I think on my part, I think I'll try my best to increase the opportunity for women to come together in the same space to discuss and share their concerns. And also try to be as kind as possible to my partners, friends, and colleagues, which might be hardest, business side of something.
Thank you. Emma. Yeah.
I also want to add to that, to also be kind to yourself, to be at peace with yourself. It's a very important feminist practice to be kind to yourself, because you're carrying a lot of burdens, so not only for yourself, but also for others. So make peace with yourself. I would like to bring up a quote to end with from my side. I joined the movement talk that was just before this, and in which a minister from or parliamentarian from Finland, she quoted Tarja Halonen, which is Finland's prime minister some years ago, and she said, "There is no point in getting bruised, breaking the glass ceiling if no one is coming after you." So why hurt yourself if you're not doing it for yourself, maybe, but also for the next generation to come. But I have noted when we talk here in this panel, we talk about it starts with the young generation, it starts with the younger ones, it starts with the children. Yes, but what about you? You have the power when you're older in some ways to also open the doors for others. So I would very much encourage each and every one of you, old and younger, to actually also take responsibility and acknowledge the power you have to actually maybe open the door for someone else. or maybe walk beside them, because that is also action of peace. And in the event of New Zealand YWCA yesterday, together with the Minority Women Association and some indigenous movement, they actually showed this intergenerational leadership and movement in a very, very nice way, showing that putting young women in front of the panel, but also having the courage and the support from the older generations. I mean, they were asked, who is your role model? And all of them talk about their mothers, their sisters, their aunties. And it was so heartwarming and touching, because then they all start dancing and singing, and they show like, this is important for us because we acknowledge all the ones who came before us. Now it's our turn, but it's not only our turn, we did it together. So that is what I would be bringing to.
Very quickly to close, I just want to say that within WID, we have a vibrant young WID network. There are people, the members under the age of 35. We think that the youth have a very fresh, innovative ideas, strategies that are using to make impact in the communities. So the youth are really vibrant and important component within the movement and the world at large. I want to end by saying this. The youth and the older ones would and should work hand in hand. There is no possible peace without the work of both the younger and the older generation. We should reject some negative attitude, some negative language. No, we are not negating. One is not negating another. So let's consider that we have each of these categories something to put on the table. We are not negating each other. Let's build on what we bring on the table, both the youth and the other one. So please, let's try to reject, because I'm so happy. And it's happening within WID. Yes, it's happening within WID. We have many sections with youth committees. We have sections like with the German section led by 2 young women. So it's really, my last message is really for us to start challenging the negative conception that the older ones are standing against the youth and vice versa. No, we have to work hand in hand. And our role, the older one, is to support the younger ones. And I, for one, for example, each time I have an invitation to talk in the conference, or especially in the conference, I always talk about the youth. I don't talk on behalf of the youth. I have a youth by my side to be able to speak by themselves. So, my dear youth, please, we are together in this. Let's reject the negative conception. There is no culture of peace that can be built with us being divided. Our voices should be stronger, because we have to work together to make peace happen in our different communities.
First, I want to say thank you to Asil. Definitely what Asil said, I endorse everything. And even I felt bad when I heard what Asil was saying. Because for me, I was taking this session on culture of peace to dream, and to reflect on what we try to do despite of the war that we have, the sustained war, not the sustained peace, the sustained war that we have in our region. And unfortunately, it's all these weaponization, the resources that are being spent on destruction, the trillions of dollars, and then they send us humanitarian aid. And what I want to say about the dignity kits, it's dignity kits in a non-dignity place. So this is what we have in our region. But I want to end also to say that I will not end with the negative thing, but I want to say, if we talk about peace in our region, people will just laugh and tell you, what peace are you talking about with all these double standards? And the lack of collective solidarity, and the lack of collective solidarity from women in different spaces, whether peace organizations or feminists that, and this is, we have to agree, but I want to add with a very positive note to say that this session brought us together to think on how we want to move forward, as Ambassador now showed us the culture, the culture of peace, how we want to move it, and never to have this happen again. How we want to raise our voices, and this is like what we need to do this in the room. The culture of peace and how to have this collective solidarity among one another. Thank you.
I will also leave you with a very positive note. And, working with musicians, I think it is also my role to give the final note here. So, referring to my personal experience in relation to the activating part of your of this session. I was just a civil servant working for the European Union, sitting behind a desk in Brussels, but having witnessed wars and, as they call, theaters of conflict that are terrible and that are still very troubled. So I had the opportunity to work in Afghanistan, in Iraq, in Georgia, in the Middle East. I witnessed all this, and I was convinced that I was able to do something more. And I had to do something more. The inspiration came when I had to deal also with the conflict in Syria and all the dramatic immigration flows that derive from that conflict. I started a very modest organization with those that were surrounding me and that were sharing the same vision and the same somehow frustration, right? And aspirations. And today I'm sitting here on a panel with Ambassador Chowdhury, which is a huge honor for me, because inspired by Federico Mayor Zaragoza, with whom we started our very first project, we ended up mobilizing those around us. So this is really my message to you. Don't underestimate the power of what you can do. We were, as I said, a bunch of civil servants. We ended up mobilizing the United Nations Symphony Orchestra, finding out that they were also willing to do something to change today's landscape. And I'm very proud to say that we've been also nominated as agent of change, recognized by the music industry as such, for advancing gender equality in the music industry. And at the same time, I've been nominated also for an award as Women Changing the World, which I don't think I am. But as I said, the message is don't underestimate the power and the impact of all the very single actions that you, with your friends and your environment, could do. Thank you.
Thank you. Actually, because we wanted to ask, as you walk out of here, please, each and every one of you, I hope we all carry a commitment or action that we can take when we get home.
Yeah.
So thank you very much for being with us. And
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much. I'm working on it.
No, it was.
Thank you.
The German section led by two young women. So it's really, my last message is really for us to start challenging the negative conception that the older ones are standing against the youth and vice versa. No, we have to work hand in hand. And our role, the older one, is to support the younger one. And I, for one, for example, each time I have an invitation to talk in the conference or especially in the conference, I always talk about the youth. I don't talk on behalf of the youth. I have a youth by my side to be able to speak by themselves. So, my dear youth, please, we are together in this. Let's reject the negative conception. There is no culture of peace that can be built with us being divided. Our voices should be stronger because we have to work together to make this happen in our different communities.
First, I want to say thank you to Asil. Definitely what Asil said, I endorse everything. And even I felt bad when I heard what Asil was saying. Because for me, I was taking this session on culture of peace to dream and to reflect on what we try to do despite of the war that we have, the sustained war, not the sustained peace, the sustained war that we have in our region. And unfortunately, it's all these weaponization, the resources that are being spent on destruction, the trillions of dollars, and then they send us humanitarian aid. And what I want to say about the dignity kits, it's dignity kits in a non-dignity place. So this is what we have in our region. But I want to end also to say that I will not end with the negative thing, but I want to say, if we talk about peace in our region, people will just laugh and tell you, what peace are you talking about with all these double standards? And the lack of collective solidarity, and the lack of collective solidarity from women in different spaces, whether peace organizations or feminists, and this is, we have to agree. But I want to add with a very positive note to say that this session brought us together to think on how we want to move forward, as Ambassador now showed us the culture, the culture of peace, how we want to move it, and never to have this happen again. How we want to raise our voices, and this is like what we need to do this in the room. The culture of peace and how to have this collective solidarity among one another. Thank you.
I will also leave you with a very positive note. And working with musicians, I think it is also my role to give the final note here. So, referring to my personal experience in relation to the activating part of your of this session. I was just a civil servant working for the European Union, sitting behind a desk in Brussels, but having witnessed wars and, as they call, theaters of conflict that are terrible and that are still very troubled. So I had the opportunity to work in Afghanistan, in Iraq, in Georgia, in the Middle East. I witnessed all this, and I was convinced that I was able to do something more. And I had to do something more. I would say the inspiration came when I had to deal also with the conflict in Syria and all the dramatic immigration flows that derive from that conflict. I started a very modest organization with those that were surrounding me and that were sharing the same vision and the same somehow frustration, right? And aspirations. And today I'm sitting here on a panel with Ambassador Chowdhury, which is a huge honor for me, because inspired by Federico Mayor Zaragoza, with whom we started our very first project, we ended up mobilizing those around us. So this is really my message to you. Don't underestimate the power of what you can do. We were, as I said, a bunch of civil servants. We ended up mobilizing the United Nations Symphony Orchestra, finding out that they were also willing to do something to change today's landscape. And I'm very proud to say that we've been also nominated as agent of change, recognized by the music industry as such, for advancing gender equality in the music industry.
And at the same time, I've been nominated also for an award as Women Changing the World, which I don't think I am, but as I said, the message is don't underestimate the power and the impact of all the very single actions that you with your friends and your environment could do. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Actually, because we wanted to ask as you walk out of here, please, each and every one of you, I hope we all carry a commitment or action that we can take when we get home.
Yeah.
So thank you very much for being with us. And
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much.
I was like, I can't look at the time. I just- No, it was.
Thank you.